Good morning everyone, it's Cooper here again of Cooper's Mobile Mechanics. Today with another video just showing you what I get up to day to day as a mobile mechanic. So the first job we've got today is this VW Passat. It's in for a oil and filter service and a brake fluid change. So I'm just going to show you my process for this job and then we'll go on to the next couple of jobs that I've got today. Today we've got the MAN oil filter and a new sump plug to put in. I've also got a Sealy pressure bleeder here for the brakes. So that's hooked up to the reservoir, as you can see, and it's pressurised up. So then all I need to do is go on all four corners, put a bottle on the bleed nipple, open up the nipple, which will then force out the old brake fluid, and while doing that we'll put fresh new brake fluid in there. Now if you've seen my other two videos, I've spoken about how I will usually crack the oil filter off first to allow the oil to drain down into the sump. Well, this one's slightly different because the oil filter sits at the bottom of the engine, so I'm just going to send it up and I'll drain the oil and do the filter at the same time while I'm under there. So with that nipple cracked off now, you can see I've got the bottle on there, so that's draining out the old brake fluid, and like I say, while it's doing that, it's also putting new brake fluid in there. And while I've got it jacked up and that's doing its thing, it just gives me a good opportunity now to check all the sort of suspension components underneath the vehicle at the rear and make sure that's good. What I'm going to do is do the passenger side rear first, followed by the driver side rear, and then make my way to the front and do the passenger side front and then the driver side front. So I've got the brake fluid just draining out of this passenger side front now, also draining out the engine oil at the same time, and then I'll show you in a sec the oil filter that I was talking about underneath. So just here at the front of the engine is where the oil filter sits on this engine. You can see it's just tucked behind this wiring loom. So what I usually do, I'll disconnect this, I'll take the wiring loom out from there and I'll just move it out of the way. And then up there you can see there's a 13mm screw in the middle. So you want to take that out first, which will drain out the oil from the filter, and then I'll put it back in with a new seal, and then you've got your 32mm for the actual oil filter housing itself. Remove that and swap the filter over and put it all back in. The brake fluid change is all done. I just want to show you, this is the old brake fluid that's come out. You can see there, it is quite dirty, that fluid. It's got a yellow tinge to it, but its new brake fluid is quite clear. You can see it in there, it's quite brown. Granted, the bottle itself is fairly dirty, but that brake fluid change is looking more brown than a nice clear yellow, so there's definitely due a brake fluid change there. Tell you what, it's cold today. I think it's about 2 degrees. It wasn't too bad this morning when I first started, but it's just tried raining now. It's made it cold. The joys of being a mobile mechanic in the winter. Roll on spring. Okay, so next job is this Citroen Dispatch. You can see there the auxiliary belt is not there. It's snapped off. So I've just come armed with, I've got a new belt with me, but I've also got new tensioners. And it's a good job really, because this tensioner here is sprung loaded, so it should be nice and tight on the belt. But you can actually get it with your hands. You can move it around, look. So there's no tension there at all. All the pulleys are nice and free, nothing's seized up. So I'd say the culprit, this has actually got 2 tensioners on it. There's one here and then there's one sort of you can get from down at the bottom. So I'm going to change both tensioners and the belt, and it should be all good after that. So to start with, on this top tensioner here, there's those 2 13mm bolts I'm going to take out, and then there's one more underneath, so I'll get these 2 out first and then I'll jack it up, get that bottom bolt out so I can get this tensioner out, and then the other tensioner you'll see from underneath as well. There's probably need to get the wheel arch liner out, and there's a big plastic cover, this sort of covering the bottom pulleys as well. Get that out of the way, and then I should have pretty nice access to get them out, hopefully. So now underneath the vehicle you can see that last bolt on the top tensioner to take out, and then this is your other tensioner here. So you got 1, 2, 3 bolts there. So I'll whip those out, put the new tensioners in, and then get the belt on. I've also, while I was under here, because the belt snapped and shredded, I'm just going to check all around every pulley and just make sure there's no little bits of belt that have gotten caught behind any of the pulleys, and if there are, it's vital to take those out. Right, so the old tensioners are out. I've got the new tensioners here to put in. A couple of INA units. So you can see here, so the tensioners are sprung loaded. So they've got these pins in. So you put them in with the 3 bolts, get them all tight, both of them, get your belt on, and then once you've got your belt on and it's all lined up nicely, then you can pull these pins out, and the sort of spring tension on the tensioner will move it forward and put that tension onto the belt. So I'm just going to put these in now, get them all torqued up, get the belt on, which is a Dayco belt, and yeah, hopefully it should all go in quite nice and smoothly. So the dispatch is all done. I didn't manage to film the ending of it because the customer came out while I was finishing. So he was hanging around and we were just chatting while I was getting it done. I did have another job in between these two. That was a Volkswagen Polo, and the front disc and pads on, and I was going to be stripping and cleaning the rear brakes. It's got shoes and drums on the back. Its handbrake's quite high, so I was going to strip and clean them and adjust them properly. But when I took the drum off, the wheel cylinders are leaking, so he's going to have new wheel cylinders and shoes because they're all contaminated with brake fluid. So new shoes, cylinders, drums, spring fitting kit, but I'll be rebooking that. That'll be in about 2 weeks time now before I can get to that one. I'll probably film a couple more jobs this week. I'm not sure what jobs yet. Can't even remember what day it is. It's Wednesday today, so I've got Thursday and Friday, got some work in, so but yeah, there'll be a couple more to show you, so I'll see you then. Right, so it's Thursday. I've got this Citroen DS4. This is one that I came to have a look at, I think it was last week or the week before. Came to do a service, but they've also got some faults they wanted to look at. The first one is, so that fault there, electrical circuit fault, and they're also complaining of the battery is draining after a couple of days. So when I checked the faults last week in the BSI, there were about 14 faults in there, which if anyone here works on a Citroen or Peugeot, that probably wouldn't surprise you. They always seem to have a million faults in there. But the main fault was this one here. So it's the supply protection and management unit. And if you saw my last video, I said about when I was looking at the A4 for the turbo diagnosis, I spoke about checking technical bulletins first thing. So I got this fault, and the first thing I did was have a look for technical bulletins. And with that fault code there is a technical bulletin which talks about the that unit there basically getting corroded, internally corroded. Now there's 2 different faults that you can get with this problem. One of them is that the relay is stuck closed, which is what we've got, and that will give you the faults that we're getting, where the battery will go flat over a couple of days. There is another fault that you can get, which is the relay stuck open, and I believe that will stop you from actually being able to start the car. So if you ever get one, a Peugeot or Citroen, a non-start, and it's got this fault, then it will be the same unit that we're about to replace now. So off the back of that, I had a look. This is the supply and protection unit. You can see the corrosion on there that the technical bulletin said about. But then I also saw, while I was looking, there's a wire down there which is completely green and broken as well. So I've got a new unit, new genuine unit to put on, and then I'm also going to do some wiring repairs, definitely to that wire. When I I take it all out, I'll have a look just to see if there's any more wires that need repairing. I think on some of them, I think one of these two terminals, they were really common for corroding and rusting as well. I think the longest part, it looked pretty straightforward. It looks pretty straightforward to place, to be honest. Just a couple of connectors here, 13mm nuts to take off. And you just got all the wires going to each fuse. So the longest part of this, really, what I'm going to do is get some masking tape and I'm going to label up each wire so that I know exactly where they go when I put the new one on. So what I don't want to do is just whiz off all of these nuts, take it all out, get the new unit, look at the wires and go, I haven't got a clue where they go. Particularly see these two wires here, two thick red ones together, they'll be quite easy to get switched over. These two here as well, so yeah, definitely label them up so you know exactly where they go. Well, this is nice. Anyway, so got the old unit out there, and I have put a bit of masking tape, put a number on each wire. So if you have a look at the new unit, each fuse has got a number. So see that green 40 amp fuse there, that's fuse number 14. That yellow one there is fuse number 20. So now when I put it all together, I know exactly where each wire is going to go to. And that's the two wires that were corroded. I've repaired those, so I just chop the end off. And I've got some of these terminals here, so it's a smaller size. One of these terminals, and then I've got some heat shrink, so I've just got the right size sleeve. So I've crimped that terminal on, put the heat shrink over, and that looks like a nice repair to me. They look the same as the others. So now I've just got to put all these wires back in the right place, put it all together, and that should be the job all done. Right, so just checking here. So that electrical fault on the dash is now gone, and the fault that was stored, which was a present fault, changed to an intermittent fault, which then allowed me to erase the fault code. So there's no longer any fault stored in there. So I'm quite happy about that. Oh, a bit of a hairy moment there, to be honest. So fault all erased, and then turned it off, ran the engine again, and that electrical fault came back up on the dashboard. And you know when you get that sinking feeling in your stomach, like, oh no, it's not sorted it. So I messaged my friend Andy, who's Master Tech at Peugeot, just to check it, to see if these need programming or coding or anything afterwards. He said they don't, but he said run the engine and then switch it off and let it go to sleep, and then check it again. So I've just done that, let it go to sleep, left it for about 20 minutes after running the engine, come back and it's all sound, it's all good. So yeah, bit of a hairy moment that was. But it's all done, I'm happy. Okay, so last job of the day. I've had two others today, but the weather's been miserable, so I haven't been doing any filming. So some diagnosis on the engine management light on a Ford Focus, and then service on a Vauxhall Grandland. But now we're on a Ford Focus here, 1.6 petrol engine to replace the starter motor. So you can see it just down there. So what I've done, this is the way that I do them. Just set this pipe out from here that goes to the air filter box. And you've got two 13mm bolts, one there and one somewhere down here. You can just see the thread of it there. I'm going to whip those out first, get underneath it, take the wiring out. There's another, should be another 13mm bolt underneath, and then hopefully it should slide out from the bottom. So the problem this customer was getting was, you turn the key and you just get a click. The car wouldn't start up, it would just click. So a way of testing it is to put the jump pack on, put that onto the body, and then get the positive lead, put it onto the positive terminal, and what you should see is the pinion shoot out and spin. But this one is coming out, but it's not actually spinning. See that? So it comes out and it just stays there. It's not actually spinning at all. So that's the clicking that he's hearing, but it's not got any power behind it to turn the flywheel. So I have actually partially put the new starter motor in, but I'll just show you. So there's those 2 bolts that I showed you earlier, and then there's this bottom bolt here. So you get those out, but first you want to take out, so you've got 2 wiring connectors. It's all in one block and it sits on there. You've got a 10mm nut and a 13mm nut. Take those out, get this all out the way. It's a bit tight to get out, but you should be able to squeeze it on the bottom there, or at least I have. Like I say, you might just need to move some of the wires out of the way just to give you a bit more room. Yeah, I'm just going to tighten these bolts up now, put the wiring all back together, and then the job will all be done. So I've done a few of these starter motors now. Actually did one a couple of weeks ago on the same engine. And when I was just showing you that last bit there, actually notice you can actually get to all 3 bolts from underneath, so I didn't need to take that air ducting out at all. But hey ho. So yeah, if you want to do it all from underneath, you can. So let's just see if that's worked then. It should do. Also, we just proved that the starter motor is faulty, but you never know. Lovely. Job done. And that I think will be the end of the video. Tomorrow, it's Thursday today. Tomorrow I've just got a day of servicing, so nothing that interesting to show, to be honest with you. We've got a few somewhat interesting jobs this week, so just trying. It kind of varies really. I think each episode is going to vary a little bit. It's either going to be sort of a full day of what I do, or just a few jobs throughout the week. Not going to film everything throughout the week. One, it takes a bit of time. It does make the jobs go a little bit longer, but also a lot of what I do, it's quite repetitive, isn't it? If you've got a week where you're doing 5 services or so, there's no point in filming all of those, is there? But yeah, I hope you found it interesting, and hopefully you've learned a couple of things. But if not, yeah, I just hope you've enjoyed watching the video. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Drop me a like and a comment, and same as before, you know, if you've got any feedback or anything, good or negative, just put it in the comments, let me know. But yeah, thank you for watching.